Hi, welcome to episode 264 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my handspun yarns, and we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, February 10th. It is a chilly day here in Kansas. It is 40 degrees. It is dropping steadily, and it is supposed to snow on Wednesday. So it's going to be a chilly week for us. I hope that you are staying warm wherever you are, particularly if it's your cold time of the year. If it's your warm time of the year, then I hope you're enjoying it because the weather is always better someplace else. So, I hope that your week has been full of crafting. I have had a busy week, lots of crafting, unfortunately not as much as I can show you, and some amount of crafting and ripping, which is always less than fun, but I do have quite a few things to show you, as well as some dreams about things that I would love to get on the needles. And let's jump in. Today I am drinking something called Little Miss Spice Girl. It is dark and ginger and Assam black tea, cinnamon, cloves, cardamom. This is from Hetty's Tea Room, which I picked up when we were in Scotland this past summer, and it is delicious. And I am drinking it in a ridiculous llama mug that my friend Anna got for me. So Anna works at Hallmark and she gets to see all their products, and this is the llama mug, and she brought me one and I had to drink in it. It's a little weird with the head right there, but the tea is lovely and so is the mug. I may actually ultimately put it on my desk and use it as a pencil cup, but we shall see. So that is delicious tea. Oh, it's so warm. I just want to sit here and hold the mug between my fingers. We do have heat and whatnot, but we try not to use it a ton. Of course we use it some because when it's 40 degrees outside we can't not, but we do try and keep the house fairly cool and just put on extra clothes, and I have been huddling under blankets today. I don't think I'm getting ill, I'm just chilled today. I went out briefly to the post office and it was chilly out there, and so this warm tea holding the mug in my hands feels great. But let's talk about what I have been working on. I have one small finish for this week, and technically it's not entirely finished. But it is a hat that I am designing. I talked about the fact that I am going to design some blue hat patterns this year. Mostly I'm inspired by Hat Not Hate, which is Lion Brand's anti-bullying initiative, and they are looking for 100,000 blue hats this year. They deliver the hats to schools in October as part of Anti-Bullying Month, and I decided that I wanted to design some simple unisex hats that could be knit for any charity that you choose, but I decided I wanted to use blue yarns, and what I'm going to do is the first one is designed and pretty much done, and the second one is at least in my mind in the works, and so I'm going to do the first two, and I will be releasing the patterns individually and as a collection. So I'm going to get the first two ready and then put the ebook up for sale for one price and then the individual patterns for a different price, and then the remainder of the patterns will come out on specified dates this year, and then I will be making a donation to a charity. Hat Not Hate, Lion Brand is not really set up to receive funds for Hat Not Hate. That was where I was going to donate a portion of the proceeds, but they make some recommendations on places they think, sort of, if you would like to donate, please think about supporting these places. So I am going to select one of those places, and I'm basically going to donate $1 per hat. So whatever that turns out to be, whatever the pricing turns out to be, $1 per hat will go to a good cause. So the first hat is the Sweet Dreams hat, and I will just show this to you briefly. This is a hat that I designed. This is the smaller size, which fits me. quite well. It's meant to be somewhat of a fitted beanie, although if you want to make it more of a slouchy beanie, you can add more repeats. And the part that's not finished yet is I still have quite a bit left over, which is good because I would like for one ball to knit both the small and the large hat. But I would like to go ahead and put a big pom-pom on this. So I have not done that piece yet, but this is the hat. It is, like I said, a simple unisex textured knit, and really doesn't require anything other than knitting and purling, and then later on some knitting two together and purling two together. And the yarn that I used for this particular hat is Dream in Color Classy in the colorway Bedtime, which is why I am calling this the Sweet Dreams hat. And so that is what I am working on finishing right now. I will be sending it to a tech editor, and then, like I said, I'm going to work on a second hat so that I can basically deliver the first half of the ebook at purchase, and then the two other hats a little bit later on this year. So that is what I am working on right now. The next hat will be in a different yarn. I'm trying to feature different yarn dyers throughout the year. And so for my next one, you'll notice the theme of blue. This is kind of a dark blue, a little bit almost blurple, because it does have some purple tones in it. This one is much more of a kind of classic blue for Pantone color of the year. And also for Hat Not Hate, the color for anti-bullying is blue. And this is the colorway Washington Circle from Neighborhood Fiber Company. And I have that on, I believe this is the Studio DK base, which is 100% superwash merino, 275 yards. I will be using superwash because these hats need to be able to be cared for because they are going to kids. So I, like I said, I have some ideas on what I want this next hat to look like. So I just need to wind up the yarn and get started. So that will be on my needles shortly. Next on my knitting list, my works in progress, is the Drifter wrap. I am knitting this as a sample for Zen Yarn Garden. As a reminder, I am knitting the Drifter Shawl by Tammy Gore, and I have actually knit this one before. I knit this one earlier this year, or earlier last year, sorry, in Bijou Basin yarns, and it ended up being a gift for my mom for Mother's Day. Right now I am using Zen Yarn Garden in the Superfine fingering base. Those are not the right labels. Let me see if I have them, because usually I do keep them. Yes, yes, these are, so it is Zen Yarn Garden, and it is her Superfine fingering base, which is 90% Superfine Superwash Merino, 10% nylon, and they are in the Arabian Nights colorways. And one is a one-of-a-kind, meaning it is a variegated, and then one is a splatter, which basically is just a speckle dye. And so this is the variegated, the one that's listed as one of a kind, and then this is the speckle. So they do contrast quite well. They don't contrast, so the Drifter wrap is a shawl by, like I said, Tammy Gore. And it is designed to make use of both texture and color and working your colors together. So these, in their pure form, they do look like they would contrast quite nicely, but they both have a lot of the same colors in them, so at spots they don't contrast quite as much as you might think. But here is what I have so far. I've done quite a bit of work on this week. This has been almost my only project. I have one other sample that I'm not allowed to show you, and that one had some stops and starts this week, so I did quite a bit of this week. So this is my version of the Drifter. As you can see, it starts out in a lovely garter stitch expanding, and then we have some lovely textured, and we move into the second color. And so, like I said, it does have kind of a bright contrast in the large sections, but the contrast within the textured sections is kind of interesting, and it overlaps a little bit because sometimes the colors are very close. So it's an interesting textural wrap. It's a little bit more subtle. I love the colors in this. The colors are kind of rich chocolatey browns, espressos, reds and pinks and whites. That is a pretty good color approximation of what I am using. And then of course the white has all those bits and speckles of color in there to kind of match it. So that is what I am working on. There are, I believe, 10 sections in the pattern, and I just finished section 6. So let's see, I guess I lied. There are only 7 sections in the pattern, and I just finished section 6, but section 7 has some large chunks. And as you can see, I'm probably down to about 25% of this one, and I don't know, maybe 50-ish, or maybe a third of this. I don't know exactly what I have left. I haven't weighed them, but I will keep knitting until I run out or the pattern is done. I feel like I'm going to be a little bit close on this one, which I shouldn't necessarily be, because it's written for 2 or 3. You can do it with 3, but it's written for about 800 yards, which is what I've got. So, it should be fine. I didn't have trouble last time, so I don't know why I'm worried now. I just always look at the balls getting smaller and think, oh dear. I hope I have enough, but I should have plenty. And so I should finish that one, hopefully this coming week before I talk to you again. And so I will be able to show that to you. So that is my Drifter Shawl by Tammy Gore. And I actually don't know why this is all crazy. The pattern suggests that you not cut your yarns, and I did once or twice, which was kind of silly because I wasn't sure whether I wanted to carry them or not. So I have a few ends to weave in, but mostly this is just extra stuff. It's not as bad as it looks. I have right now 3 ends to weave in, and I will have 2 more if I carry all the way to the end. So 5 ends for an entire project where I'm using 2 different colors. Not that bad. So that's what I've got. So, that is kind of everything in the knitting category. Also, one of those I would love to, well, a couple things. One is that I did sort of start a thread for February is Finishuary, or Finish It February, for those of you who would like to finish your projects. I'm not going to do prizes for this one. It's just sort of a casual along if you would like to do that. You might remember that I have another Christmas sock that needs finishing. I tried to work on it this week, but I only got as far as I did the red ribbing at the cuff. So I would like to get that one on and off the needles this week if I can, and finish that by the end of the month. And then the other thing that I am dying to make use of is I just started some work for a new client, and she sent me some luscious yarns to try out. So the first thing that she sent me is, well, okay, I should say my client is Abundant Earth Fibers. They are a small batch fiber mill on Whidbey Island in Washington State, and I believe it's in Washington State. I should probably check that, but it's Whidbey Island. And she sent me a few of their kind of mill ends from things that they have been creating. They are a small fiber mill. They produce small, sustainable batches of fiber. They have some of their own yarns that they produce, mostly natural yarns from local to them shepherds and flocks. And then they also do some interesting things. One of their clients that they spin for is Spin Cycle Yarns. So they sent me some of the mill ends of a new base that they are about to premiere. This is Joseph and Annie, which is already one of their bases in sport weight, but they're working on making it a DK weight. So she sent me a skein of that, and then she also sent me some leftovers of a batch that they just ran for Spin Cycle, which is Metamorphic. And the interesting thing about this yarn is that it is spun from leftovers and waste that they have in the mill. And the deal is that when they spin Cycle fibers, which, as you know, are small batch produced, highly colorful batches of yarn with kind of long gradients, they produce lots of little bits of waste, just normal waste during the process of producing fibers in a spinning mill. And so what they did was they collected all these little bits of waste and tried to reuse them by combining them with more wool and creating a kind of recycled, eco-friendly yarn that uses up some of those wastes. And they combine it with a black merino, which gives it kind of a dark color. And so this is what results from it. And these two scream a luscious winter cowl for me. And actually there is a pattern on Ravelry that I found not that long ago that I would love to try. So I think I'm going to try and cast these on. These are next to Skin Soft. I won't say that they're like merino, but they are super, well, I guess this one is merino. It's 90% US merino and 10% North Carolina merino. So this one is merino and it's absolutely gorgeous. And I guess this one probably is as well. So they are next to Skin Soft, and I want to make a big cowl with some really cool, it's like a stockinette stitch cowl with a bunch of garter stitch and textured stitching on it. So stay tuned for that. It may not happen this month, but it will happen soon. So I'm very, very excited to try those. So next on my needles or hooks is my Afghan. And this is the Woodland Crochet Along. This was started by Lucy of Attic 24, and she does a variety of crochet Afghans. She's a prolific crocheter in the UK. And she puts together color kits and then patterns to knit beautiful, scrappy, colorful, to crochet beautiful, scrappy, colorful Afghans. And so this is the, like I said, the Woodland kit. I got this as a gift from my mother-in-law a few Christmases ago, and I decided this year it needed to be crocheted. And I am officially more than a third of the way done. The crochet along is broken. Most of her crochet alongs are broken into 7 parts. Parts 1 through 6 are all the rows that comprise the blanket. And this is, one kit is enough to produce a blanket for a twin size bed. So this is a sizable Afghan project. And then the 7th part is always kind of the border and tying everything together. So this week I finished section 2 and moved on to section 3. I had been hoping to be done with section 4 by the end of the month. I don't know that that will happen because I really had hoped to wrap this up in the first quarter of the year, because I would like to make a couple more, one for Roxy and one for Miles. Excuse me. But I don't know how that's going to happen, or if it will be able to happen. We'll just have to see how my schedule goes. So I am, like I said, about a little more than a third of the way through, and I just thought I would bring it to show you. I don't remember where I was last time when we talked, but this palette is lovely autumn colors. It is greens and oranges, and there will be some more blues later on. Right now I have grays and a little bit of mocha, and we are moving kind of out of a lot of the oranges and some of the greens. And so when I finish this section, I will be done with 3 or 4 of the colors, and I have 3 or 4 more to add in. So this is what I have so far. It is bright and colorful. It is now approaching blanket sized, so it is nice to sit under and work on in the evening. I need to go on another streak of weaving in ends. I was actually pretty good, and the first half of the blanket has all the ends woven in thus far, but I have not done it for the second section of the blanket, so you can see there is lots of spaghetti here. So maybe this evening I will wind some of those in before I start doing more rows. So I've been trying to keep up with this blanket, doing a color stripe, which is 2 rows per day. Some days I do not make it, and for instance this weekend I did 2 rows a day every day, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I got 6 rows done this past weekend, which was nice. And like I said, I am just keeping on with this one. I still don't know who the recipient of this one will be. We have a wedding for a family member we are attending in April, so it might go for that, or I might actually give it back to my mother-in-law who bought me the kit, because some of the blues that come into the second half of the Afghan actually match her sofa. So I was thinking it might be nice to do that, but I haven't decided yet. And this one I chose to use, so Lucy does a couple things. She does what she calls a color story, which is, excuse me, I stayed up too late last night. I'm gonna take a sip of tea. Get some caffeine with my alpaca. Or llama. I don't know whether it's a llama or alpaca. I always look and I should know the difference. I'm pretty sure it's a llama. Anyway, she gives you a couple alternate methods in which to do your colors. I am doing her color story on this one, which is sort of an interplay weaving in and out of all of the colors. You can also choose to do them in color tone order, which I wonder if I would have liked that a little bit better. So I'm going to think about that before I do the next one. Or you can just arrange them yourself. But since this was my first big project with one of her palettes, I decided to go ahead with what she wanted to, I'm seeing fuzz in the air, what she suggested. So as I said, that is the Woodland Crochet Along Ripple Afghan, and like I said, it is already fairly sizable. This is just a third of what it will be, so it's going to be nice and warm and cozy, and I am excited about that, and I am almost done with a couple of the colors, so that's kind of neat to be moving on. So that's a project in progress. I think that pretty much covers what's on my needles. So hats, socks, samples, a little bit of crochet. I have a little bit of spinning to show. I didn't bring a ton because I didn't think it would be super interesting. Like I said, the last couple weeks I have been focusing on my white sheep, my white fiber that I am spinning for knitting more chicken feathers. So that is what I've got here. I spun up about between 12 and 1,500 yards. I haven't washed it all and weighed it and measured it all yet. It was about 2 pounds, and I spun up fairly thick and bulky and a little overspun, although this skein has not been washed yet, so a little bit overspun for my singles, but I spun up some thick and bulky singles to knit some chicken feathers, and I finished my big 2-pound bump of the white, so now I am going on to the gray, and this particular chicken is going to be white and gray. So this is the gray, basically doing the same thing. I am 2 skeins in on the gray, so I probably have 4 to 5 more before I finish. This is totally helping me get my poundage up for spinning, although it doesn't seem to be moving anything out of my stash because these, of course, are commission projects, so they give me the fiber and I spin it and then I take it back. So again, not really moving much out of my stash and not really getting to spin for myself lately, but that is okay. Because spinning these big bulky spins does not take that much time, so it is actually a great project for me. So that is all I have to chat with you about this week. I hope that you are enjoying the crafty season. I do actually love some of these cold days because I love to stay indoors and curl up under blankets and craft. The only thing I fight with is whether I'm going to take a nap or craft. I usually try and opt for crafting, but sometimes the nap wins out. Anyway, I hope that you are having a lovely time wherever you are, and I will be back again in a week. So I'll say to you, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.